My guest today is Zara Watson-Young, award-winning trademark attorney and co-founder of Watson and Young Law. Sarah specializes in helping female-founded and women-led businesses protect their brands with expert trademark solutions. She's on a mission to make legal protection simple and stress-free so digital entrepreneurs can grow with confidence. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. I wanted to first just understand a little bit about your story, what made you got into this path, especially since there aren't a lot of lawyers focused on digital businesses.
Absolutely. Well, my path is definitely not traditional or linear. There have been so many, my gosh, twists and turns. But I initially started out in special education law. I did not start out doing intellectual property law. My youngest sister, she had a mild learning disability, and I had to help my parents basically sue. I'm in New York, so we had to sue New York State to receive special services for her to go to a private school to help her with her learning difference. Going through that process, I said, "Oh my gosh, this is very rewarding." I literally went with my parents to every single legal meeting. I met with their lawyers. I was very involved in the process. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I want to do this area of law." So at that time, the law firm that represented my parents for my sister, they offered me an internship because I was in law school. So I ended up interning at that law firm, and ultimately they gave me a job after I graduated. And once I started working there, I just wasn't passionate about it. I was, very thankful, and I loved the people that I was working with, but I said, this is not for me. And basically, while I was working there, I had a lifestyle blog, a lifestyle and travel blog, and I was creating content. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I can help other content creators protect their work," because I didn't want to not practice law. I wanted to continue doing what I was doing in terms of practicing law. And I said there has to be another area of law that I could, basically go into. And I realized it was intellectual property law. And I basically walked into the law firm partner's office and I said, "Thank you for this opportunity. Unfortunately, it's not for me." And I'll never forget, he told me, he was like, "To thine own self be true." He was like, "If this is what you feel you're supposed to be doing, then, go for it. I'm going to support you." So I literally, resigned. And I said to myself, I can either go and work for another law firm, I can try to get another job in intellectual property law, or I can just start my own business. So I said, "Okay, this is it. I don't have any kids. I don't have, I wasn't married at the time. My now husband was my boyfriend." And I spoke to him. He was like, "Yeah." He was like, "We don't have any kids. Like, we're not married. We don't have a mortgage. This is your opportunity to start your own law firm." So I said, "Okay, I'm going to do it." And I had no experience in marketing, no experience in advertising. But I said, "You know what? I have my cell phone and I have an Instagram. So let me just start posting content." So I literally just started posting on Instagram, and I shared it with, friends, family, whoever was on my Instagram. And that is literally how I started in 2017. Instagram is very different today. It was very simple back then. It's so funny to even say that, but literally there was no stories. There was no Instagram stories. There were no Instagram reels. And obviously there was no TikTok. So literally it was just Instagram. I just posted on my feed. I shared educational content and I started getting a lot of referrals. I targeted female founders because, at that time, and obviously I still am, but I was a female founder. So I started sharing my story, I started sharing my perspective, the feelings of starting a business and the importance of protecting that business. And that's literally how it started. And then, like I said, I just started getting referrals. And then now we have, a team of five. My husband works with me. We have, social media team helping us with creating content, posting content, et cetera. But it literally just started from my cell phone all those years ago. So that's the story.
Yeah, so cool. I mean, you took the leap, and I think this will resonate with a lot of entrepreneurs who might be listening to this. Many, because one of the things that happens is that we go into business because we feel the calling, but many times we have not had like mm, formal business education. So,
Yeah.
what are some of those mistakes that people do when they take that leap? They are so passionate, but maybe some of the things that they do not think about when they are just starting their digital company.
Oh my gosh, I'm the perfect person to ask because I literally did not even think of any of these things. There's so many mistakes. in terms from a legal, well, from a legal perspective, right, you want to make sure that you are protecting, your brand, right? Having an LLC or forming a legal entity first in the US, most businesses form a legal liability company. They will become an S corp for tax filing purposes, but making sure that you have all of those legal foundations in place. So a legal entity, having a contract, right? Setting clients' contracts is very important. You want to set expectations, set boundaries, your payment terms, what happens if someone cancels, et cetera. And then also your trademark, right? Making sure that you own the brand that you are building. Own, as with more visibility and more marketing, you put yourself at risk for people copying you. So making sure that you're putting all of these legal foundations in place. That's the first part.
Yeah.
And of course, the business skills, right? So learning how to sell. Selling is very important. Learning, marketing, the psychology of marketing, like what makes people, want to purchase from you, want to work with you, building that know, like, and trust factor. So the sales skills, the marketing skills, and then advertising as well. I am a big believer in organic marketing at first because that's how I started.
Mhm.
But you do want to eventually put fuel to the fire and then, do advertising, right? So learning how to run an ad. And I highly recommend learning how to do that yourself first because I can speak from experience. We've hired agencies to do our advertising and we've wasted a lot of money not knowing what we were looking for. And thankfully, I have a client she's a client of ours, and we've become a client of hers, and she's taught us like how to run ads, Google ads, Facebook ad, or Meta ads, YouTube ads, all the types of ads. So it's very important for you as a founder to understand, to have a baseline level understanding of these things, so you know what to look for when it's time to delegate. So there's a lot of business skills, but I would say sales skills is number one for sure.
Yes, that impacts everything. Like how you sell impacts the way you market, the way you hire. So many
Everything.
skills.
Yeah.
And in your case, because one of the things that I've seen is that digital businesses sometimes are not thought as real businesses.
Mm.
Have you felt that too from maybe colleagues in the law industry? Like,
Um, in the beginning, I've been doing this for 7 years now. And it's not easy because unless people really know, and if they're not, unless people are really following your journey, they may not realize, like how much your business has grown. So I think in the beginning, for sure, for me, it was very challenging because at that time in 2017, having a virtual law firm was unheard of. So people are like, "Oh, you're starting your own firm? Okay, that's great. It's virtual. Okay, very cool." But they didn't take it seriously. After COVID,
yeah,
everyone is like, "Oh my gosh, like I work from home." And I'm like, "I've been working from home," or, this is my office. I've been working from my home office for many years. So people were catching up to me and seeing how you can actually run a business without having to have, an overhead of a very expensive office, and running with a lean team and still being very successful. So I think COVID helped shift people's perspective of how you can run a business, not necessarily from the traditional like law firm, space. You can make it your own. So I think COVID definitely helped. And then sometimes today, like I said, if people aren't familiar with our brand, they have to like take some time to, to research us, right? Just look us up and see on Google things, just researching about us. But for the most part, I think we're doing good in that sense.
yeah. Yeah, you're definitely setting a new standard for what's possible for many other lawyers, which I love.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
want to do like a section of rapid fire questions because there are so many things I want to ask you about intellectual property law, especially many myths that people might have.
Mhm.
Um, would that be okay with you?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. So the first one is, if I have an LLC, is my business name protected?
No. Do you want me to go into detail?
Yes.
Sure. So the answer is no. That is a common question that we get all the time. And the reason is because your LLC is completely different from your trademark. Your LLC protects you from liability, whereas your trademark is how you actually own the brand and can go after anyone else who's copying you. So if someone were to copy your business name or copy your logo, you go after them through your trademark. Your LLC has nothing to do with it. It is just there to protect you from liability.
Okay, and what are some of the ways that you can protect your, for example, an online course?
Your trademark. So if you want to protect the course name and your course content, you would protect the course name through trademarking and the course content through copyright law.
Okay, and would that also allow you to go after people who like these pirate sites that copy your product?
Yeah, so it would be trademark and copyright infringement. So yeah, you'd go after them for those two.
Okay, okay. And I don't know if there's any standard, but on average, how much registering a brand name would cost?
There's no average. It depends on the law firm and it depends on your goals, right? So if you want to do, depending on your goals, so maybe you need to trademark your business name, maybe you need to trademark a logo or a slogan. It's going to depend on the law firm. Every law firm has a different price. It's just like going to a doctor. A
Yeah.
doctor is going to have a different price range, right? There's no standard. And I think that's very important to address because sometimes we'll get clients who say, oh, why is your price this? And I spoke to someone else and their price is this. And I was like, I'm a law firm. There's no standard rate. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's going to price differently according to their experience, according to the results. We've worked with over 900 brands all over the world. This is all that we do. We're specialists. So our pricing for us is a little bit, I mean, maybe I can't speak to everyone, but for us, I think we charge a premium rate because of that, because of our experience, because of our success rate. And also you're not just a number, right? If you're going to be working with us, we care about the relationship. For many of our clients, they're coming to us at the inception of their business and literally working with us as they are growing. So we are there when there is, a cease and desist issue. We're there if they found someone copying them, on Instagram and they want us to send, a letter having the person take it down. So we really are about building that relationship with the client. You're not just a number, right? You can go to a law firm, you can Google trademarks, right? And find a random company to do it for what, $3.99. Do you know what I mean? Like there's something
Yeah,
out
yeah,
there for everyone and every industry has that, but it depends on what you're looking for. So if you want a quality relationship and a quality experience and good, great results, then you come to us.
yes. Well, but that's so interesting. You work with business internationally.
Yeah. We have clients in the UK, we have clients in Italy, we have clients in France, in Paris specifically, all over the world, because many people are doing business in the United States and they want to make sure that they have a trademark protection in the US. And the international trademark filing process requires that you file first here, first in the US, and then you can basically file through it's called the Madrid Protocol. I don't know if you've heard of that, but you file for that once you have a US application.
Okay, so interesting. And you mentioned Instagram. So if someone copies your Instagram profile, which happens all the time,
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yes.
would that also fall into trademark protections?
It depends on what they're copying. So yeah, if they're copying well, let's say they copy your whole profile and you're marketing your business name and you're marketing, maybe a course name. Yes, absolutely. That would fall under trademark infringement because they're copying everything verbatim. So yes, you can reach out to them and say, you have to take it down or else we're going to sue you for trademark infringement and maybe copyright infringement. So yeah,
And there seems to be like unfortunately, a huge copycat culture right now on the internet,
always,
right?
always. Ever since I started promoting on Instagram, I always say the internet is the wild, wild west because you have no idea. There's so many lurkers, right? There are people who are just, going on your profile and checking you out, and you don't know. You have no idea who's looking at your profile, who's looking at your content. And yeah, they can just start a new Instagram page and start copying your content. So absolutely.
Right. They impersonate people, and also I've seen entire companies, like for example in e-commerce, they just copy and paste your website, they copy and paste your products. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's scary. But I'm hoping now with AI, maybe there'll be better protections in place. Like we'll be better able to police our brand. You can literally maybe tell an AI platform, please, look at the website or the internet to see if anyone else is copying my business name or my course name, right? I think with AI, lawyers, like trademark lawyers, intellectual property lawyers will be better able to police. I really do think so.
That's so interesting. And regarding AI, um, maybe this is a really big topic, but is content like is content created through ChatGPT? Is that legally protected? Does that make sense?
Great
Like,
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is a big topic, bigger than we have time to discuss, but basically it's a huge issue because especially when it comes to like authors and, I would say like different like copywriters, they're facing a lot of issues and challenges with ChatGPT specifically. Because yes and no, the content that you create technically, it's technically you and the AI, right? Because you're giving the AI the context or the content. So you're saying, write an Instagram caption about, this podcast episode talking about what we discussed, right? So you're giving the AI the idea, and then the AI is technically giving you the content, and then you might make adjustments. So, from a copyright perspective, when you're registering a copyright, the government asks you who was involved in creating the work.
Hmm.
They always ask that, even before AI, right? So now we have AI, so you have to disclose that it's basically technically you and the robot, right? So the law is not established yet when it comes to AI and content, not creation, but content ownership.
Yes.
So I think it's still being established. There's no clear cut. And it depends because certain companies will say, no AI, like we don't want any AI being used. So I think companies are starting to regulate, um, what they want or how they want content to be created. So you just have to be very careful. Um, I say AI is more of like an assistant to help you, but you should not be relying on it solely to, create things because you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. There was a lawyer who was, I don't know if you heard about it, the lawyer who was sanctioned. This was maybe a year ago or a
No, I
year and a
haven't.
half ago. Yeah, he cited cases. He used like ChatGPT to draft a motion and he cited fake cases in his brief. And yeah, because they were looking at the cases and there was no such case. So,
And ChatGPT writes like so
yeah,
confident, and then you
right.
go
And
like until you're hooked.
he got in so much trouble. And I think he was like not he wasn't disbarred, but like he has to pay a lot of fines. So you have to be very, very careful how you're using it.
Mm. So what if you hire a content writer? Do they have um, ownership over the content that they write for your brand?
It depends on the contract. So most copywriters, let's say a social media agency, you hire a social media agency to create your social media content. Typically what they say is as long as you're making your monthly payments, let's say it's like a monthly payment plan, as long as you're making those payments, you will ultimately obtain ownership over the content. So it's going to depend on the contract. Most times they give up ownership and you can own the content. It depends on the agency, but for the most part, most agencies are allowing you to keep it.
Okay. Yes, I know a big name in the industry. I won't name her, but she had to change her entire like flagship um, program
Wow.
because she didn't trademark correctly. So I want to ask you like, when would be the right time to start thinking about trademarking?
As soon as possible. The sooner you start, the better, because the last thing that you want is to launch something and the name is already registered, because then you're going to have to rebrand. I could share so many stories. Oh my goodness. I have a client, she spent $40,000 in product packaging. She's a jewelry brand. She literally spent $40,000 to manufacture boxes to put the jewelry in, and she put the name of the brand on each box. And then she came to us and saying, I want a trademark. I spent all this money on product packaging. And then when we did the research for the name, we found another company using basically almost an
Oh,
identical name.
yeah.
But thankfully, we were able to have her trademark register because of how we described it. So we were able to make it go through. But can you imagine, like, the surprise for us and for us having to tell her, like, unfortunately, someone else already registered a similar name, right? So that was a very, very stressful situation for the client. So that's why I always say the sooner you start, the better. I always get asked, oh, like, how do you know? When you fully believe in the idea, right? When you are fully invested, you say, okay, you know what? Like I have my plan, I have my vision. I really want to protect this. Let me see if this name is available. Because yes, people come to us all the time if they've already launched the product or they've launched the service. But now, if you've already launched it, you have to be prepared to rebrand, right? You may have to change everything, throw out everything. Like maybe if you've created packaging, you have to throw that out. Or if you've already launched your course, you have to let your audience know, unfortunately, we're going to have to change the name of the course. People have received cease and desist after launching, and we have to basically rebrand everything and negotiate time to change everything. We had a client, a brick and mortar grocery store based in New York. It was a kosher grocery store. They launched their business on a Sunday. That Tuesday, they received a cease and desist from a
Oh
company in
my God.
Florida, and the company in Florida had been using that trademark for years, like literally a decade. And so there was no way that we can go around that. So what we had to do is buy our client time. We had to say, can you please give us 10 business days? It was definitely more than that. I think we asked like 60 business days for us to change the signage. They had pamphlets that they sent to clients. So they had to rebrand all of that. So, it's a lot of money
A lot of money.
that you're putting on the line if you wait. So I always say the sooner, the better.
Oh my God. I imagine that is one of the hard things about like selling legal services must be like selling
Yeah.
insurance. Like you
It
only
is.
realize
It is.
you only
It
realize
is.
how important it is once you need it, right? Unfortunately.
It's so true. I had a call this morning, and the person I spoke with, she was basically saying, "Oh, I don't know, like, how valuable this name is. If someone copies me, okay." Like she was very like lax about it, and I was very surprised. I said, how much does this name mean to you? How much? I said, how much would it cost you if you had to change, the branding? Because she's running ads as well. I was like, what would that do to you? Like if you had to rebrand? And I think that asking her that question really made her think differently about it. And I had to explain, like for many of our clients, like this is their livelihood. They've built their reputation off of their name, off of their course name. They've become known for certain names. So to have to lose that and, rebrand entirely, that could lose a lot of revenue. You could lose a lot of revenue because people are now confusing your brand, right? They may be calling you something and then you have to change. So it's just not good to have to rebrand. But yes, it
Yeah.
is like selling insurance.
Yes. That must be a challenge, and it's definitely props to you for yeah, selling this, marketing this, building a company around this because it's hugely important.
Thank you.
Most course creators coaches would have their brand company name, their maybe they'll have a podcast, they'll
Mm.
have a flagship course, and they'll have like a unique methodology.
Yep.
They have a lot of things that they can potentially trademark. Where would you suggest starting out?
Your flagship offer, whatever's going to have the most visibility, that's what you want to protect. So if you're running ads to it, if this is what you talk about every single day, then you want to trademark that as soon as possible. So whatever has the most eyes on it and the most visibility, and that's going to have the be at most risk, you want to trademark that. So if it's your flagship offer, absolutely, you want to protect that trademark as soon as possible.
Maybe this doesn't fall under specifically under intellectual property, but since I work in marketing, I always wonder how far we can go with guarantees when we talk about in our marketing using testimonials. Do you have thoughts about that, like the guarantees that people use to sell their courses? What kind of things they should be aware when doing those type of guarantees? Because, like for example, there is a lot of talk about doing an irresistible offer. Like I guarantee you 5 clients in 10 days, but yeah, what's the limit on doing those things?
I mean, as long as it's true, right? It's not really intellectual property law question. I think that's more, I get what you're asking. I would just be cautious as long as it's true, as long as there may be some disclaimers, depending on your field, right? If you are a coach, like a life coach, you have to be very careful how you're giving a guarantee because you're not a medical doctor. You're not, oftentimes they're not like licensed in like the medical field. So you have to be very careful the kinds of guarantees and promises that you're making. But as long as it's true, if you really guarantee that you can get five customers in, 5 days or 10 days, whatever, go for it and be prepared to give that person the money back, right? Hopefully that's part of your guarantee. If you're saying I guarantee XYZ, or you'll get a full refund, or you will, yeah, get your money back. Just keep your promises. That's the best answer I can give you. I don't really know the legalities because it's not really under intellectual property law. It's a different area of law. But I hope that answers your question. Just be true to your word. That's the best I could say.
Yes, like the definitely ambition must be balanced with kind of your what values you want to stand for, right?
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that we do is some sort of a guarantee is if your trademark does not register, we will basically do another trademark application for you, essentially for free, with the exception of you just paying the government filing fees, but we'll do the rest of the process for you. Because the last thing we want is for you to spend all this money and you don't get a trademark. So our goal is to get you a trademark eventually, whether it's, changing the name a little bit or coming up with a new name and helping you trademark that. So that's our form of a guarantee that we can really stand behind. Because it's a long process. It takes anywhere between 12 months to 18 months to register. So it's a long process.
Interesting. So, what do you see for yourself and your firm in the future? I'd love to know more about that.
Yeah, so we are actually launching a book next year in 2025. We are planning to release it the first week of April. So we're really excited about that. We've been working on it for a long time. It's our first book ever. And I think it's going to help a lot of business owners. We want it to be very short, very actionable, and just a quick, interesting read because I know when it comes to the law, people are probably like, oh, I don't know if I want to read that, but we want it to be very actionable and informative. We want it to be kind of like a business Bible book, right? We want it to be part of every business owner's repertoire of books. So we're really excited about that. And then just growing our team, growing our office space, and that's it. So launching our book and then just growing our team.
Yeah, and I see you are creating a lot of video content on LinkedIn.
Yes, yeah. Thankfully, our social media team is helping us post as well on there too. But yeah, video it's huge now, right? It's everything. So we are definitely looking forward to creating more YouTube videos, just more video in general.
What has been the biggest personal challenge for you as an entrepreneur?
Um, oh my gosh, that's a good question. I would say balancing everything, right? Like I don't believe that there is balance. I think there's seasons in entrepreneurship. You have a season of like rest, a season of, push and pull, right? So I think the most challenging has been just balancing everything. Like I have two little girls. I have a 5-year-old and a 19-month-old. So balancing that on top of our clients, like our business is another child in a way. So balancing all of that has been challenging, but very rewarding too at the same time.
Yeah, and especially since New York is the city that never sleeps.
Oh yeah. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. No, I think that's most of the things that I wanted to ask you, but where can people learn more about you? Yeah, if they want to know more about your services and your education.
Absolutely. So we are at Watson and Young Law on all platforms. And our website is www.watsonandyoung.com. And you can learn more about our services there. We are a full service trademark law firm. So we do everything under the sun with regard to trademarks, from registration to cease and desist and full on litigation. So this is all that we do. And yes, so at Watson Young Law on all platforms.
Yes, and stay tuned for the upcoming book.
Yes, definitely.
All right, Sarah. Thank you so much for sharing all your experience with us. I think this is super valuable and definitely something that people should consider, just the same as they consider I need to open like that mental checklist when you open a business, right? I need to
Yeah.
open an LLC, open a bank account. I need to trademark everything.
Trademark. Yes, I agree. It has to be part of that initial checklist for sure. Because people wait and they say, "Oh, I can do it later, or I can do it when I've made it." And the truth is, you want to start as soon as possible.